How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. So I understand you're here to discuss a divorce.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to first ask you some questions, and then afterwards you can ask me any questions that you have of me, so we can figure out if we're a good fit. Okay? How many years have you been married?
11 years.
All right. And what do you do for a living?
I'm a photographer.
Okay. And how much do you earn a year?
It varies, but it's roughly $100,000 a year.
Okay. And does your wife work?
She stopped working 6 years ago after the birth of our second child, but she was a registered nurse.
And how much was she making when she stopped working?
She was comparable to my salary, $100,000 a year.
I see. Have you discussed her going back to work?
Well, if we get divorced, I think she should. We haven't. That's because I was curious how the fact that she can earn as much money as I can, how does that relate to alimony?
Well, that is an important question, obviously, in your kind of a case. Now, is your 6-year-old, is it a boy or girl?
A boy.
Okay. Is he in school now that he's 6 years old?
Yes.
All right, he's in kindergarten or first grade?
First grade.
Okay, so he's in school full time.
Yes.
So there's really no reason why your wife wouldn't be able to go back to work. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you feel, I mean, some people, let me go back. Some people feel that mom or dad, somebody should be home all the time for the children. Is that how you feel, or is that how your wife feels?
I don't feel that way, but I think she does.
Okay. Now, why are you getting divorced?
Unfortunately, she's having an affair.
All right. Now, do you have any proof of that?
Yes, I do, because it's with a neighbor, and it's known about in the neighborhood already, so it's widespread news.
So that must be pretty upsetting.
It's painful.
Yeah. You might want to talk to somebody. A lot of times I recommend that people go for a little therapy during the course of divorce. Not that there's anything wrong with you, it's just a really difficult time, and it's very good to talk to somebody to have an objective opinion, not just your family or your friends, but to have somebody else to bounce things off of. So, if you're comfortable and you are inclined to do that, it might be a good thing. A lot of people that come into the office, I recommend that to, and it works well for them. So, let's look at the issue of alimony. Now, you've been married, you said, for 11 years, is that correct?
Yes.
And how old are you?
I'm 45.
Okay, and your wife is?
42.
All right, so you're comparable ages. So one of the factors in considering alimony is the age of the parties, because the question is, can she go back to work? If she's 65, obviously it's a different scenario than if she's 42. So the two of you still have long lives expected for being able to work. And now that the child is in school, it is feasible for her to go back to work full-time or at least part-time to earn a living, for that to be taken into consideration when looking at alimony. Now, the fact that she's cheating on you is obviously very upsetting. However, the courts really don't consider that a factor, unfortunately. I know it's a moral factor, but they really don't consider that as a factor in determining alimony. Only if she is using money from the family for this other person, or dissipating money from the family, does the affair become a factor. Now, if she ultimately lives with this guy, or ultimately marries this guy, then your obligation for alimony should end. But until that point, you may have an obligation for alimony. Typically, in a case like this, we might consider a limited duration of alimony. So she needs to take a little bit of time to get back to work and to get on her own 2 feet and to stabilize and have earnings again. I mean, she has been out of the work market for 6 years, so that's a reality. She may not be able to just turn around and earn what you're earning right away as she had in years past. So do you know if she has all of her credentials up to date?
Yes, she has stayed on top of all the current technology, and she's aware of of everything that's going on in the nursing world.
Okay, so that's great. So, if I were to represent you, I would suggest, or I would argue, obviously, that she should be going back to work. Where we might compromise is when, how long, and those factors. So there might be a graduated support figure between you and your wife where you give her some money to get going, and then as she gets going it goes down, or we can review tax returns. There's many different options that we can consider. The best thing would be if the two of you can come to an agreement regarding alimony rather than duking it out in litigation. So I can discuss this with her counsel. What I do often, and what I'm going to do with you today, is I'm going to give you the law on alimony. It's pretty straightforward. There are statutory factors. It is not a number. We don't have a calculation for alimony at this point in the state of New Jersey. The court considers these different subjective factors when it makes a total award. So just to go over them, we have the actual need and ability of the parties to pay. So how much can you afford to pay? How much does she need? These are the factors. And we'll look at a budget called a CIS when we're doing your divorce. The duration of the marriage. You have an 11-year marriage. There's a big difference between an 11-year marriage and a 20 or 25-year or 30-year marriage. Obviously, she still has, a lot of time to work and to move forward with her own life. The age, physical, and emotional health of the parties. So you and your wife are healthy, right?
Yes.
Neither of you have any health conditions that would impair your ability to work?
No.
Okay, so that's good. Standard of living, we can go over, what kind of house, budget, food, all those other things. The earning capacities, as you said, your wife before had the ability to earn, so that's going to be our argument in the case. Length of the absence from the job market, that is a factor. So she's been out for 6 years. Although she can make maybe the same amount as you can, she's going to need some time to get back in to the workforce. And it's worth compromising with regard to that to resolve your case sooner. Parental responsibilities, we can go over that. Time and expense necessary to acquire sufficient education, so you're saying she's up to date on all of her factors there. History of financial or non-financial contributions during the course of the marriage, and equitable distribution. So we can also look at, the house, the savings, and all these other components and how they're going to be divided. You may want to give her more of a lump sum and not pay alimony, or vice versa. Okay, so these are considerations that we can take in when we're considering your case. Do you have any other questions?
No, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad. Have a nice day.